Later this year, we might see some serious ramping of the Tesla Semi, which I am super pumped and I'm glad you guys are too. Every time I talk about the Semi, a lot of people seem to be bizarrely interested, but we've seen a few more sightings of this unit that is still on a trailer. Unfortunately, they're not letting drive it around yet, but apparently an anonymous source who is claiming to be one of the supply chains for some of the parts going into the Tesla Semi has contacted a Twitter user. I've interacted with him a few times. He's a great source of news. He keeps you up to date on all Tesla stuff. His name is Sawyer Merritt. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, but he's never really leaked any type of inside information source before, so this could end up being a fluke. Maybe someone's just making this stuff up, but it does sound somewhat plausible, and I don't think Sawyer is making this up. We don't know if his source is making this up, but I believe him, and he's talking about how they're anticipating that the beginning of pilot production is going to begin in July of this year and start kind of small. Of course, Elon on conference calls has alluded to they're going to use the semi-truck for their own purposes first, so that means that if these reports end up becoming true, we'll know by seeing semis on the road, but they'll likely be in the pilot production phase for a couple months, but then fully fledged mass production should be around August, and Sawyer is promising some really interesting numbers with how Tesla plans on ramping the Semi, which almost sound too good to be true, but anyway, his numbers are saying 2,500 semi-trucks on the road by the end of 2021, which sounds incredibly cool because I was excited at the idea of like 1 or 2 semi-trucks hitting streets. And now, even if these numbers are exaggerated and they only end up delivering 1,000, that's still really impressive because there's so many things the Tesla Semi is going to help with when it comes to preventing emissions from traditional diesel trucks and convincing the public that electric has lots of different use cases outside of just small range town cars. But he's also saying by the end of 2022, there will be 10,000 on the road, and by 2023, they plan on starting to produce the Semi out of Giga Berlin in Europe as well. I'm assuming he means Giga Berlin because he's currently telling me the EU start of production will be 2023, and by the end of this year, they're hoping to crank out around 100 semis a week, which is just an insane amount of batteries if you consider that each individual Semi is the equivalent of basically 5, typical Model 3 and Model Y batteries. So that's a whole lot of batteries they're churning out, and you're probably thinking, well, on the last earnings call, Tesla said that the main reason they can't mass produce the Semi is they don't have enough batteries. If they're going to suddenly be producing hundreds of these things a month, how is Tesla getting all these batteries? Are they just all coming out of Kato Road? Potentially, yeah, some of them could be, but Panasonic has already confirmed that they plan at the beginning of April to start a pilot production line for the new 4680 cells, and it's my hope that Tesla is kind of being super open about the 4680 manufacturing process because they want all of their suppliers to be able to build the best batteries possible and of course as many batteries as possible. So keeping that kind of mass production technique in-house for Tesla doesn't really make much sense, especially if Tesla is already working with Panasonic at Giga Nevada. It's in their best interest to share all the information they know, so more than likely a lot of what they're learning at the Kato Road facility is going to take effect at Giga Nevada starting in April. Probably take a few months for them to kind of ramp up the production lines and get those yields high enough. As Drew talked about on the last earnings call, they've been working out a lot of the kinks with the 4680 batteries and making them a lot more reliable. So the timeline kind of makes sense. The fact that they want to start producing the Semi at Nevada first, and they plan on ramping 4680 batteries by April, and then seeing more mass production of the Semi around August and, Q3 and Q4 of this year. It does sound somewhat believable to me, knowing that Panasonic is confirming these batteries are coming out, and I don't really think there's much purpose in having like 2 pilot production lines. Kato Road, they've been experimenting, they've been testing with the 4680s for a while, and sure, Giga Nevada might take a little bit of time to ramp up those batteries, but they're probably able to learn a lot from what they've discovered at Kato. And the main thing probably we should be skeptical of with this report is we haven't really heard much development when it comes to mega chargers, and I think we'll find out if these reports are going to be accurate or not by hearing if Tesla plans on rapidly deploying a lot of different mega chargers across the country within the next couple months, because obviously if you're going to start delivering hundreds of these semi-trucks every single month, you're going to want to make sure that they have an adequate place to charge, because they're not going to work with typical Tesla superchargers. And hopefully Tesla can actually start selling some dedicated charging equipment for the semi-trucks, because one of the primary advantages you have with an all-electric Class 8 truck like this is these semis typically spend a lot of time docked at warehouses, or people are loading them up with cargo or offloading them with cargo, and during those times when the semi-trucks are parked and location nearby a warehouse, which usually has more advanced electrical systems in place, hopefully you'd be able to top off your charge a little bit and get some range back as it's docked there. And Tesla can, of course, experiment with this themselves, but the Tesla Supercharger team can roll out stuff very, very quickly. So I would say within 2 to 3 months, Tesla could probably get up several mega chargers at common points for their trucks to stop at. And, you know, for those semi trucks that are driving, you know, under 250 miles each way, they probably don't need to focus too much on mega chargers on those routes. But when it comes to the more long distance routes, they can probably contact and work directly with people who have reserved the Tesla Semi ever since 2017 and ask them, hey, where do you plan on using these trucks? Where should we put our mega chargers? And if we start seeing some development on that, which is a lot harder to keep in secret because obviously we'll see the chargers going up and they'll have different plugs and they'll probably have Tesla branding, but they won't work with any Tesla. So it'll become pretty obvious if these rumors end up being true. And honestly, I think the numbers sound a little too anxious. I mean, Sawyer is saying 100 semis a week by the end of 2021, which would be around 400 semis a month. And 400 semis a month, I don't know how you quite get to 2,500 in a year if mass production is not supposed to start until August. So I would still remain a little bit skeptical with these rumors, but either way, it's exciting because even if these numbers are like 10 times more exaggerating than what's actually going to happen, that still means we'd have 250 Tesla semi-trucks on city streets driving around cargo and being used in everyday life, which just sounds incredible to me, and I can't wait to see that reality come true. And one little interesting bit of information about this report is he's saying that at full production volume, when they ramp the Semi as much as they possibly can, they're targeting 50,000 units a year. That could easily take up a very large chunk of the semi-truck industry in the United States, at least. Almost around 200,000 of those semis are sold in the US every year, so Tesla making 50,000 that are all electric, no, it's not going to happen overnight. It'll probably take 5 or 6 years before they get there, but still, that's a lot of electric, zero-emission semi-trucks driving stuff around, and I'm sure the range is going to be much better than we think, and I'm still very curious, like, what will Tesla start out with? On one hand, I would say they should start with the long-range semi-trucks because the profit margins on that one are going to be higher. The price is higher in general, and that's what they did with the Model Y. You know, they start with the expensive option. Or because sometimes it's tricky to get the battery chemistry right, and maybe providing semi-trucks with smaller batteries will allow them to get more semi-trucks on the road sooner. Maybe they start with the standard range variant, which is supposed to be around $150,000. What do you guys think Tesla should do? Feel free to let me know down below. Thank you all for watching. Hope you have an excellent rest of your day. Take care.